What's going on, people? Welcome to the match preview show. The Palace are back. I don't know if some of you are happy, upset. Let us know in the comment section how you're feeling. We are back, winless Palace. The games resume with us playing on Monday night. Thankfully, I'll explain my reasons. But as always, make sure to get involved. It is a massive game against Nottingham Forest, a game where I believe we haven't won at their ground since they've got promoted. But it's a significant game for Palace, as I've said, without a win. So let us know your thoughts and like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. As you can see, I'm joined by Nick, Stan, and AJ. How are we doing, gents? International break, did we enjoy it? I know a few people watched the England game. I watched the first game against Greece, and then I clocked out. I watched both of the Turkey games. I was very happy with the international break. In fact, I want it to continue. But anyone else tired of international break? Eager to see Palace play again?
I had nothing to do with football apart from watching the women get cheated out of a draw by Brighton on Sunday.
Yeah.
We won't talk
1-0 defeat. 1-0 defeat. Unfortunate defeat in that game. But yeah, I mean, they did pick up the women's team did pick up the win against Leicester. I believe it was away from home. So that was a positive step as well. So that did happen over the international break. But yeah, as I mentioned, I've watched a few games here and there, but I've not been involved like massively. I've tried to kind of tune out of it. And I feel like this international break came at the right time for us. We've needed the break for various different reasons. We saw it in the last game against Liverpool. Adam Wharton going into the break still wasn't fit. Eze out of form. We had Chalobah who just came back. And during the break, we actually had a friendly. We'll quickly touch on that right now. We had a friendly against Ipswich Town, which was a 2-2 draw. In terms of first team players played, it's not quite out there exactly who played, but I can confirm based on logic, Adam Wharton wouldn't play. Because I mean, he had a break, last international break due to his injury, so I don't think he's going to be playing Wharton after that. Nathaniel Clyne was pictured on holiday. Dean Henderson with England, Gahey with England. Eze, Glasner did say he's going to have a break. Who else?
Burberry fashion show, probably.
What was that?
He's probably at a Burberry fashion show or something.
Yeah. So I know there was like a lot of people saying, "Oh, look, we can't even beat Ipswich Town," but I think it was a game more about fitness rather than having the full strength 11 out there working on tactics. I think the likes of maybe Chalobah would have featured in the game, especially with some rotated squads. But for any of you on this panel, was you concerned about a result against Ipswich? Honestly, I'm just curious because I just saw it more of like a fitness test for a rotated squad due to the players that I've listed that were not featured in this game.
Well, don't say that to anyone on Palace Twitter, mate, because after that result, they think we still can't win a game and we're going down. But in all seriousness, like you said, it was a run out for a couple of players, a few more minutes in the tank, try out maybe one formation for 45 minutes, try another for another 45. I mean, it's irrelevant, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. And what else happened? I believe, there was another thing that happened during the international break as well. Let's get that over and dusted as well. Glasner, quick mention. I don't know how on earth these conversations have come about, but this is one of the reasons why I took a break, even on socials as much. He's been compared to Frank de Boer, which I think is absolutely crazy because we're talking about one manager on this on Twitter, by the way, talking about one manager who's won a European trophy in comparison to a manager who literally had to retire from management because he was that shocking. Like, I get there's nothing to really talk about during the international break, and that's why we didn't do much content. But just keep it as that. Like, if there's nothing to talk about, then there's nothing to talk about. How on earth is Frank de Boer and Glasner comparisons coming, AJ? I don't know what you made of them, but for me, I just think it's absolutely crazy. It's crazy to compare both of them. But then again, some people may say it depends on the wins. I think Frank de Boer had a spell, of course, at Palace, a short spell where he struggled, and Glasner's struggling right now. Well, what's your opinion on the comparisons?
Quite frankly, it's a pile of rubbish. The reality
Quite
situation
frankly.
is,
see what you done there. I don't know if you meant it intentionally, but if you did.
always planned, mate. Always planned. But the thing is, right, with the Frank de Boer situation, as a manager, he was stealing a living. And unfortunately, we were just one of the bystanders in that. He was a fantastic player at his time, for those old enough to remember him. But in terms of Frank de Boer, the manager, he didn't really do anything anywhere. It's like people are forgetting, and this is what we don't get sucked into, but at the same time, respect the fact that the man in Glasner came in at the end of last season and did and accomplished what he managed to accomplish with a Palace team that he had. So, listen, you see, when people are bored and people are frustrated, people fester things and it grows. And with the international break, it's just a situation where everyone's sitting there, they're bored, they've not been able to talk about. So it's like, oh, okay, how am I going to, especially on somewhere like X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it nowadays, that's somewhere where you can create a lot of traction with flippant comments. You know, especially the cesspool that Twitter and X is at right now. You know, you go down your timeline and it's just what, you know, you can almost find a niche for any kind of headache or any kind of stupid conversation. So it was inevitable somebody or one or two fans are going to just try it just to engage some kind of negativity. But bro, use your common sense in it. Like they're not even in the same. They're not in the same book. They're not in the same library. They're not in the same town. They're not even in the same country. Like those are very disrespectful comments, and I'm not entertaining it.
How many games did we win on the trot? 7 last season. De Boer hasn't even won 7 over the last 5 years. So
listen, Palace didn't even score a goal in the Premier League under his tenure. So if you're like, it's a ridiculous comparison. It's stupid.
Yeah. And I think it shows the frustrations on maybe Oliver Glasner by a few in the fan base, which I was expecting at some point. I mean, it's natural. If you don't win 7 games, there are going to be some people frustrated and questioning him. But I think this has gone from an extreme. Rather than asking the questions, which I expect people to ask, it's gone to another extreme, which, I mean, let's now focus on this game against Forest. How important is it?
Steve, were we losing badly and playing as ineptly as we did under De Boer, then yeah, I might have a little bit of truck with it forgetting last season. But we haven't really been stuffed. The games have been close. There's, you know, I think we could have got one against Liverpool if we were lucky. Do you know what I mean? We're almost there. We're almost there. And people saying that this Forest game, if we lose it, then Glasner's got to go. I'm sorry, but you don't fine-tune something and then fuck off the person that's doing it, do you? And then try and get somebody in who's going to try and rebuild it in a different way, because you're just setting yourself back.
The thing is, if you get rid of Glasner right now, who's the alternative? With all due respect, not David Moyes. We're not in that on that stage yet. I mean, the season just started. We don't need to make a radical change like that. And also, football is not as black and white as some people paint it out to be. We literally sold Elise, Anderson. That's fine. They're gone. The replacements came in on deadline day. So, you know, start of the season, we started with all of that headache that's been going on. So we didn't have a settled squad till then. Even before then, Eze 10 days of preseason, Mateta barely any days of preseason. Wharton's been playing all season with an injury. Look, if things were in place, of course you can say these are excuses. And at some point, you do have to look and get results one way or another. And you do have to look at a manager. I think you do look at Oliver Glasner and you do naturally ask some questions. And this is not by any means, I am not like lost any faith in Oliver Glasner so far. I haven't, because of the performances, as you said, Nick, we're so close. If players like Eze took their chances, who are big players, for example, then we got a point against a team that's top of the league. Like, and we would have beaten maybe United as well. So it's been fine margins. The performances haven't been awful, but everything's kind of gone against us. Everything has gone against us. And despite that, I don't think, results-wise, of course, it's been terrible. You haven't won a single game, but I don't think it's like...
I think the, you know, I'm not saying obviously anything about Glasner's position or anything like that, but I think there have been a couple of terrible second halves or first halves. Like the first half against United, we were terrible. First half against Liverpool, we weren't great. And let's not talk about the second half against Everton, where we literally crumbled, right? So there has been that. But that's something he's got to sort out. But I think he he's been experimenting a lot with some of these new players, or he's been trying to hope for the best that Adam Wharton just sort of, a run of, starts games and goes into games, but Wharton's obviously not been fit, etc., etc. So I think that if he starts his best team going forward, I think results are going to get better.
And we were close to that against Liverpool for the first time, because I think Chalobah playing is part of that, defensive line that, that will be solidified this season. I think that it'll be Chalobah, Guehi, and Leclerc. In fact, we'll talk about a potential system change, because it might not be that after all, based on the rumours that's happened during the international break. But yeah, look, as I've said, there have been a few mistakes. For example, Kamada, he was a bit weird with him starting Kamada in midfield. I think like he really wanted it to work, and then he found out the hard way. And then, you look at, for example, Mitchell's form recently. It hasn't helped the situation. So I think it's a collective responsibility for the results that we've had. Because I think you look at the manager for some of the decisions that he's made, and you also look at the players. But the one thing about Glasner that gives me massive hope, and we've been in the Premier League for a long time, and we've had different managers. But a lot of the managers that we've had in the past, they were very stubborn in their approach in terms of, this is my plan, this is the system. I don't care if it's 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, we're going to stick with it. But even at some points this season, we've changed it up during the game. We went to a back four. We've seen changes. For example, Kamada, it hasn't worked in midfield against Everton, right? He subbed them off in the second half early on. And then the next game against Liverpool, he didn't start. In the past, with the previous managers that we've had, Kamada, let's say Kamada was James McArthur or James McCarthy, where Macca was, I don't know, not Macca, but McCarthy. McCarthy under Roy probably would have started if that was Kamada in the next game. It doesn't matter about the poor run of form. That's what
it was the same with Will Hughes as a 10. He just kept playing him there and playing him there and playing him there.
If a manager can understand his mistakes and can change it up like that, and even now, Nick, there are even conversations about potential system changes. That for me gives me hope, because we're not far off. I don't think we're far off. I think, as I've said, we need to take our chances ASAP. But despite that, he still wants to make changes to make sure that, we get the most out of the squad. And that gives me the hope that eventually it will click with this manager. 1 or 2 wins, and all of a sudden you're looking at, I don't know, potentially 10th or 13th, and you're looking up the table rather than down. That's all it takes at this stage with 7 games.
I've just been looking at Kamada's performances for Japan on WhoScored.com, because he scored over the international break. And his most used position for Japan is the left-hand side of a front three. How many times have we seen him there?
0. Literally 0. We've only seen him as a number 10.
That's amazing.
But not on the left-hand side, have we? I can't remember. He's come on as a right-hand side number 10. Maybe in pre-season, has he played down the left?
Maybe.
Can't remember. But
yeah, but listen, this is it, man. This is it. Like, so many times in previous shows I mentioned that Glasner is renowned for using the first X amount of games at the beginning of every season to tinker the team. So I kind of anticipated this. And it just seems that, and by the way, this is not new information. This is something I know through some back alley. This is something you can either Google or it'll pop up on your timeline at some point. Like the history of Glasner and how he operates his teams at the beginning of the season. He's actually ironically a manager that doesn't go into a season and just goes, all right, boom, this is my set 11, no changes. He is renowned for tinkering with newer players, newer systems, the first 6, 7, 8 games anyway.
Isn't that what Dario Gradi got done for?
Tinkering.
Nick, your brain just works at different worlds.
Sorry, man.
I'm glad Nick said it and not me. But to be honest, like the thing is, right, he does this, and he does this all the time. He does this everywhere he goes. And reality situation is, if we ended up getting him in the summer rather than getting him early when we did sort of January, February time, it would have been the same thing you would have been doing anyway. So I'm sorry, fans have just got to hold that for a little bit. The man was super successful towards the end of last season, but at the end of the day, because he's doing what he does and he's tinkering around with things and he's trying to get a right system that will push us on to hopefully bigger things and better things, it's like people can't hold their bottle on this one.
That's
Like,
almost
not to say
weakness,
there's.
though, AJ. That's the weakness. If you want to be a
Understood.
winner, it's a weakness, because if you think, oh yeah, I want to get to the top 4, okay, it's out of reach for Palace. But if you're losing or not getting the full 3 points on those first 7 or 8 games, there ain't no way you're going to get in the top 4, because that's like 24, 27 points.
That's true. However, what I would debate is, or playing devil's advocate is, imagine he starts going on, I don't expect him to all of a sudden start smashing everyone 3-0. But imagine that all of a sudden going towards the rest of the season and maybe a couple of additions come January, all of a sudden we are challenging at the higher scale of the table. The apologies will then need to be as disrespect. Because if it's worked for him at previous clubs beforehand, then we have to accept that where we are now. Because we are not a Frankfurt, we're not a Wolfsburg or any of those kind of clubs. Reality situation is we are still Crystal Palace, and we still need to be a bit sensible about it. But it doesn't mean that we cannot be ambitious and we can't want change. But for you to implement change in any structure of any kind of situation, club, business, whatever it may be, sometimes you have to play around with things and you have to move things until they're in the right places.
So what I will also add to that, AJ, that's like some really good points raised there. But I think that you've got to look at it as well, like, you've brought in Oliver Glasner, and it's not just like you've brought him in for the whole club, right? Because the first team's going to play a certain way, and I think the idea is that the academy teams play a certain way. So it goes, so it filters down through the club, etc., etc. So for these fans that are like, oh, Glasner's got to go, he's clueless, he hasn't got this. So are you just going to, after, 6 months, go and bring in David Moyes? And listen, I know he won West Ham a trophy, don't get me wrong, but you saw the malaise of style of football that guy was playing towards the end. Like, we beat him, 5-2, 3, and you could see. So you're going to go and bring in David Moyes, who's going to bring in, potential cart horses like the Antonios of this world, and it's going to take us backwards, and the fans will be fed up anyway. So you might as well you've got to stick with this. Let's see where we are after 10 to 15 games. If we're still in trouble, then obviously there might be a different conversation to be had. But give the guy, he's the best manager we've ever had on paper, and he knows what he's doing. He ain't stupid,
Yeah, I agree. And there was a report during the international break from Edmund Brack suggesting that Oliver Glasner seriously considering change of formation at Crystal Palace to make Nketiah and Mateta work together. Would they be right to make a change going into the Forest game? And I actually recorded the opposition preview that will be out tomorrow with Forest Fan TV. And in fact, it should be out on his channel as well. And he asked me the question, what do you expect from Palace in this game? And my genuine response was, I don't know. And that's a good thing in a way, because I don't know Wharton's situation. I don't know what's up with Munoz, which makes a massive impact to potential system change. I don't know if Glass is going to change the system as reported. There's so many questions out there going into this game, which makes it, I guess, difficult. But would we want a system change going into this one against Forest away from home?
Do we know what we played against Ipswich?
No.
Is there any news on that?
No. I think that would have been nice to know, right? But would anyone want 4 at the back, or does that depend on if Munoz is not fit? If Munoz is not fit, then we have to go 4 at the back, because I'm worried. I'll be honest. If we're playing 3 at the back and Munoz is not fit for this game, and we have Mitchell in the form that he's in currently, I'm worried because we have no width in the side. I think we do need a system change. But if they are fit, then I'm open. I'm open to both ideas. If it will be a system change, it will be 2 up front. So it could be a 4-4-2. Maybe we see Eze out wide rather than as a central number 10. Could that help? Maybe things simplify for Tyreek Mitchell, because we'll have Eze out wide. So it's not only him that we require width from. He can be a bit closer to Eze and not run up and down all game and go back to the fullback position. AJ, for you, in this one, do we need a system change?
Subject to squad availability. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of concern that Munoz might not be fit. And I feel like he's got robbed a little bit of the player of the month, to be fair, because he has been running his arse off since the beginning of the season. He's one of the only players that I can say could hold his head high because he's been sprinting, and I just can't see Klein or Ward being anywhere near that kind of standard, to be fair. However, that being said, it is well documented, and it's quite weird nobody's mentioned this. Chalobah is capable of playing right wing back. Chalobah's playing at right midfield. Chalobah is actually even capable of playing in midfield as well.
He's very good player. Very good player.
He's very competent all over the pitch, to be fair, because when he was at Chelsea, he first broke through. He didn't break through as a centre back in that first team. He actually broke through as a centre mid or a defensive midfielder, from my understanding. So there are other players in the team that you can obviously play and put and tinker with, but at the end of the day, if we do, you're right. I think the one caveat or the one negative thing I can say about the club in terms of the summer recruitment was not getting competitive, or more importantly, backup or competing fullbacks. Because now that we've got one that is compromised and injured, we're going to struggle with that sort of situation. So if we have to adjust the formation to that, I'm all for it. I think the thing is, Munoz is an exceptional player, and to be fair, Mitchell does his bit as well. But in the Premier League, trying to do that for 38 games plus the cup games, week in, week out, is going to seriously burn him out at some point. And I'm quite surprised that he's not picked up an injury sooner. So change the formation for the sake of the team. If it means we're going to get the points, if it means we're going to scrape 1-0 wins, do it.
I've just had a quick look at Chalobah. He's played 131 games at centre-back, 88 at defensive midfield, 20 at right-back, 7 at left-back.
So he can play anywhere.
Many. He can, but that's not that many. But he did get an assist when he played right-back. I think Lacroix seemed to prefer a back four as well. When we switched at the end of games, Lacroix seemed a little bit more comfortable. So there's nothing to stop that happening, is there?
So I would also, you got to look at the midfield as well. Is Decore back?
Yeah, look, I actually forgot about him. He should be back.
Okay,
I remember Glasner talking about him being back in this.
Did Lerma get on for Colombia? I know the first game he was on the bench. Did he get on?
I think Colombia are playing as we're recording tonight. So I'm not too sure if he's going to feature in that game because I'm not a psychic. But
I'll Google it
now. On the bench. Munoz, I did look. Munoz wasn't included in the squad. However, from his Instagram post, it seems like he's still with the group. So it's weird. I didn't see him on the bench, or maybe he's just in Colombia to visit family. So yeah, Munoz hasn't featured in any of their games. But that's a very, very, very good point, Stan. A very good point. Maybe because I've been switched off during the international break. Decore being back would be massive. And may I add, Nick, before you jump in, regardless of if Decore is fit or not, if Wharton is not fit, don't play him. Don't play him, please. Don't play him. I'm tired of seeing Wharton at this state. I'd rather he sits out, gets 100% fit, then he starts playing games, because it's not helping us. It's not helping him. You saw the subs against Liverpool. As soon as, we'll put Will, who's in midfield, he can actually play. He's fit to play, which helped us massively. He can run around. He can put a tackle. Wharton is struggling. He's struggling out there. He has been. So if he's not 100% fit, don't play him.
I was going to say, Hughes done enough coming on, I think, to warrant a starting place.
I think
like Forest.
Play Jefferson and Hughes, I think, to start, and have Wharton and Decore on the bench.
Yeah, just play someone who's 100%. Look, we went into the season talking about we've got depth in midfield. Let's use that depth. I have no problem with Lerma and Will, who's playing. I don't have a problem with that. It's not ideal, but it's not the worst case scenario. There is a natural drop off, but these players are capable, more than capable enough, playing in midfield for us. And
I know I know you're going to be gutted, D, but according to one Nottingham newspaper, somebody who won't be playing is your mate James Ward-Prowse. I know you were looking forward.
He's got a red card. He's got a red card. Yeah, we spoke about it. We spoke about it with him. He was not. He wanted to take one for the team. He was like, I don't want to score against Palace. So yeah, he just got sent off in the last game against Chelsea. But yeah, Ward-Prowse won't be featuring for Forest. We'll quickly touch on Forest before we do wrap up as well. But yeah, look, I'm not against Chalobah playing right back, but it also depends on if Munoz is fit or not. But system change, do we think that it will work in the long term if he did go to up front with Mateta and Nketiah together? Do you think that is the move going forward, because Nketiah playing as a number 10 behind Mateta alongside Eze. Not that I don't think personally he's had bad performances, but it just hasn't worked for our attack. It just hasn't clicked yet so far. Do you think them two playing up front next to each other would be the move?
Yes.
I don't hate it.
I'm
I don't
not
hate it
against
at all.
it at all.
Yeah,
They're different types of threats. And there are games where, I'll be honest, Mateta just looks either isolated or like he's not going to get anywhere near that ball. So maybe having potentially two threats up there, or having two different types of threats in terms of attack, maybe the way to go.
Yeah, and Villa kind of used like a 4-4-2 as well, even though they play Morgan Rogers, a player behind Watkins. It's like kind of similar, and he has worked for them. That formation. It gives you also having Mateta and Nketiah playing alongside each other. It gives us that flexibility where if we can't play out from the back for whatever reason, it's not working, you can boot the ball up to Mateta.
You can lump.
Yeah.
You can
So
pump
you've
it
got
long.
that two options on the pitch at the same time. So I wouldn't be against that. Honestly, going into this game, I'm not saying we have to play a particular lineup because I don't know the current state of the squad. But the one thing that I would say, as I've said just a few minutes ago, is that you play players that are fit to play. Because Forest is not going to be easy. They've actually been solid so far this season. They haven't won a home game, may I add. They lost to Fulham at home. But away from home, they've been very good. And also, they keep it simple. They've got Elanga, they've got Hudson-Odoi, Chris Wood. Elanga, Hudson-Odoi provide that pace out wide. Chris Wood, physical striker. Then you got the likes of Murillo and also Milenkovic, who is a fantastic signing at centre-back. Both of them being very good pairing defensively. It's not going to be easy trying to break them down defensively. However, if you go 4-4-2, you have Mateta and Nketiah up front. That gives another opportunity to another player that we haven't really seen start that many games, apart from the Liverpool one, which is Ismail Sarr down the right-hand side. Eze moves out wide a bit more. Tyrick Mitchell, less reliance on him because he's not a wing back and we've got, width options without him as well. It's not a bad shout. And I guess we'll see if he does it in this game because he has done it during games, but we haven't started games in that manner, which I think sooner rather than later, if it doesn't work out, we will do. Let's wrap it up. It's actually been a nice conversation. I've kind of missed it now that we actually spoke about Palace because there's a lot that seems like it's happened during the international break. And as I've said, I'm looking forward to the game. Monday Night Football, extra rest for the internationals as well, even though Eze didn't go, which is fantastic news. Even though that's a bit greedy on my side because I think he needed a break.
Can I just moan about Monday night? I was going to go, but there's no trains back.
Yeah, they've also reduced the allocation as well for Palace fans because I don't think they sold tickets, so it's going back to Forest fans. So yeah, we haven't been able to sell out the away game. Monday night, awkward, no train tickets back. It just seemed like a shambles. All right, predictions. I'm just going to keep it simple. I think it's going to be 1-1. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game. Whoever gets the first goal could easily win this game 1-0 as well. I think both teams have got very solid defensive foundations. They've got attackers to hurt players. I don't think there's that much of a difference between us and Forest at this. Well, there is in terms of Forest have been playing better and getting results, but in terms of squad, there isn't. I think we've both got players that can hurt the other team, and yeah, I think it'll be a tight margin, but we never get a result at Forest. So I'm going to go for 1-0, which I don't think will be the worst case scenario. We just cannot lose, in my opinion. Losing is not an option in this game. Let's go around. Nick?
6-pointer.
Reckon?
Possibly. No, I'm jesting a bit. I was going to go 1-0. I mean, my heart says 2-1 Palace, but the head says 1-0 or 2-0.
Yeah, I can see 1-0 Forest as well. Stan?
You know what? I'm going to back Glasner and I'm going to back the team. And I think we're going to kickstart our season. I'm going to win 2-0.
2-0. That's what we like to hear. AJ?
I like where Stan's going with this. Well, I think that Forest are going to score at home. I think their attack is very, very good. So I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1. So no one has predicted a Palace loss. That's the Palace bias that you have on the show. Without a win all season long, but no one still predicted a loss.
Got to win at some point, mate.
Yeah, we have to win at some point. Yeah. Surely, we're not that bad of a side. At some point, we will win games. And the performances have indicated that as well. It's not just hopium for the sake of it. The performances haven't been awful. It's just fine margins that hopefully we've had the extra time with Monday Night Football as well. Hopefully we can sort out. Hopefully we've sorted out. But let us know your score predictions in the comment section down below. If you have enjoyed it, drop a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. That's it from us four, and until next time, up the palace.